You're listening to Between Us, a space made for women with big ambition and busy lives to match.
It's for brilliant, capable women holding everything together and secretly wondering if they're the only ones facing these challenges and asking themselves these questions.
We're Jen and Alexis, co-founders of Her Tribe, and each episode, we're bringing you the questions that keep coming up in our coaching or training rooms.
Or sometimes just in the WhatsApp group chat.
But we're not here to fix.
We're here to get curious.
Let's get to it then.
Okay, Lex.
Hello.
What is this episode's question?
This episode's question is one that I think a lot of us can relate to. Why am I so reluctant to say no?
Okay.
Or another one could be, why do I say yes when I really mean no?
Well, that's it. Okay.
Same kind of thing.
When did you last say yes when you meant no?
Oh my goodness. I think that's quite a difficult thing to ask me because I'm really comfortable saying no.
Yeah, never.
However, it's taken me a long time to learn to get to that place. I used to say yes when I really meant no. So I suppose the learn in that is you can get to the place where you say no assertively without hurting anyone's feelings. And so probably been a long time since I said yes when I really mean no, because I'm really comfortable with that. But I didn't always used to be.
And so on that, you said that you can now say it without hurting someone's feelings. Do you think that's what is the thing that has stopped you in the past from saying no?
I think, well, not always. I think it's a number of things, actually. And it's a good question. Sometimes I think it's that we don't want to hurt someone's feelings.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think it's because we just want to take on more. And we want to be seen to being able to do that. So it's, I can do that. I can do that. Sometimes it's because we think that we can cope when actually we haven't given ourselves a space to think about, do I have the capacity?
Yeah, that's a massive one, isn't it? Yeah.
To say yes here.
Yeah. And so just then you said there was two really in one of them that you said there, and it was that you want to do more. So you want to be able to do it, but also you want to be seen so you can do it. So I think that's two, isn't it? It's kind of other people's perception of whether you can do it, but also your own desire to want to be able to do it.
Yeah. And then also I think there's something in there about people not feeling confident to say no.
Yeah.
Like not actually knowing how to.
Yeah.
How do I actually deliver a no to someone?
Yeah.
Or say no in the right way without just sounding like a mean person.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had this in one of my coaching sessions recently where the coachee knew exactly why it was right to say no for her and to the people she was saying no to. She knew what would happen in terms of a kind of positive snowball. She knew what would happen if she said no. So she knew all of the logical things, even knew how to say it, but couldn't do it.
And
couldn't
what do you
bring
think was
herself to
stopping her?
actually say that. I think it's when someone is so ingrained to say yes, and when no is just not a natural thing, it's almost a skill, isn't it, that you have to learn. I think it's changing what you normally do. So I think it's doing something new, and that takes practice.
100%. And that's why I said it's taken me a long time.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you'll hear me say a lot is no is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is you don't have to justify. If you say no, that's okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, what I'm not suggesting is you just say no. So, sorry, no.
Absolutely not.
There needs to be, you need to deliver that in the right way, but you also do not need to justify.
Yeah.
It's okay for you to say, and I'm going to give you a silly example. Saturday night, went to a pub quiz, and it was like in a church hall, bring your own wine, right? And it's going to be a curry and stuff. And Pete said to me, oh, what are you going to take to drink? And I said to him, do you know what? I don't really think I fancy drinking. I'm going to get out for a run on Sunday morning. I don't think I fancy drinking. And he went, oh, okay then. So I just went, oh, all right, I'll take a bottle of wine. So even though I'd said no, I then felt a bit bad about the fact that I'd said no, that I didn't want to drink, because it was like a night out. We haven't been out together for a while. So I then felt a bit like guilty, one of our other episodes.
Yeah.
So I said yes when actually I really meant no.
So that's interesting, because you started this with saying that you don't really do that now. Do you think you say yes when you mean no more than you think?
Maybe. but not when it really matters.
Okay.
So I think that's the thing, is if it really matters, then I'll stay firm. But for example, I don't work on Fridays.
Yeah.
And that's one of my, what I say is my non-negotiable. But I did work last Friday because it was for a client who really needed me to do a session. So it mattered. So I said yes when normally I would say no in that situation where actually the payoff was
Yeah.
worth it.
And I think actually there you didn't mean no. You did mean yes.
I meant
So you
yes,
stuck with it.
but
It's just not what you would normally.
it's not what I would normally do. So in the past, I've said no. So I think
Yeah.
it's about, I think I probably do say yes when I mean no now, or, but where the payoff is not so big, it's okay. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm
So you're still
comfortable.
within your boundary.
Yeah,
I wonder though if that could be a bit of a slippery slope. Not
probably.
necessarily for you, but for some people, when those boundaries start to get a bit blurred, do you think that could be a bit of a slippery slope?
I think if you aren't very clear on what your boundaries are, then
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I think what you got to, I think for most people listening to this, probably wouldn't have even thought about, why do I find it difficult to say no?
Yeah.
Why can't I say no? They're probably just, it's not something that they've even really thought about. So I think as long as you give yourself space to acknowledge this is what might be going on for you and recognize where you might be saying yes when you really mean no, then you can have some boundaries. I think you're right. It could be a slippery slope, but,
Yeah.
but if you haven't named it out loud, then,
I think we've talked about this in past episodes again, but I think it's that naming it and actually having above anything that awareness of when you do it, because you sat there and said, I don't say yes when I mean no. And I'll think, actually, yeah, I'm a lot more comfortable with it. I don't really. But I wonder if we actually go through each of our days, how many times we actually
probably.
do that. And like you say, it'll be things that, we're fine with. We're fine with it moving a little bit. But it would be interesting to go back and be a fly on the wall in our own life, wouldn't it? And see, actually, how many times have you done that? And what was the reason behind it?
Because how do you make it come across in a way, if you want to say no to something, let's say in your personal life,
Yeah.
that it's not you being, stubborn or difficult or, inflexible versus protecting your own self. That's, I think, the challenge is, how do I say no, but still leave my relationships intact?
I think it comes down to the genuine intent behind it. If you are being inflexible, I think that will show. If you are doing it to protect your own boundary, I think that will show. So to me, I think if you're saying no for the right reason, if
That's
you, if anybody could hear that, someone's not just gone for a wee. It's
that's
my
so
tap.
funny. I told you not all the recordings were going to be
No,
perfect,
you
Jen.
did. And you know what? That once reminds me, this is such a sidetrack, but I was on the panel for a talk before. It's been my best kind of interruption. I was interrupted by a seal.
Oh yeah, I was there.
Yeah. So I was doing my talk, and then in the background you just hear this.
That was very funny.
It was good. It was good. Right. Where were
Where we
we?
go back?
Intent and authenticity. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's that. To me, it's that. Like if you know that you're playing the game, and we'll talk about that in another episode, I'm sure, because that's a whole topic, isn't it? When you're playing the game in any kind of dynamic. But I think if you know that you're genuinely doing it because you don't have the capacity, or you just don't want to, or it doesn't go with your boundary, if it's a genuine, authentic reason, I think that will come across.
Yeah. So what kinds of things have you said no to that maybe you question yourself over?
No or yes.
No. Where you've kind of, because I think that's the thing, is about getting
Okay.
comfortable with the no, isn't it?
When have I said no?
But then afterwards you sort of kind of second guess yourself.
Okay, so a really recent example is we have a family occasion coming up. We would normally do kind of like gift baskets, gift bags for the kids. Right now, because of different kind of situations that I won't go in because that'll be another episode, I'm cutting back all costs. And so I've said, yes, I can come along, but I'm not going to be able to take part in doing those this time because I'm just trying to cut back on everything. the reason I'm doing that, and so I said no. The reason I'm doing that is completely justified. My family member was like, yeah, that's absolutely fine. There wasn't a remote kind of question or judgment, but there's part of me that feels guilty because I'm not doing it and they're only kids for a little bit. And, oh, well, you're going to go and get your nails done at the end of the month. So why are you doing that?
So you've said no for the
And
right
I mean
reasons,
it.
and you mean it,
It was well received.
but you're not comfortable with the no.
Yeah. What? I don't know. In some ways I am, because it is completely justified and it was well received. It was fine. But there is still that part which I think goes back into our, guilty episode. Why do we always feel guilty? Because there is that comes up.
And how much headspace have you given that?
Well, after talking about it now, probably more. No, that's not true. I have given it quite a lot of headspace actually, because I've wondered about saying it for a while and I've questioned it myself.
Mm.
You're doing the coaching look at me again.
No, I'm just thinking.
So Alexis does this look, right? And she looks at you and you can tell that she's thinking about 20 different things. And you can tell that whatever she says next is going to make you go, oh, God. In a good way.
What I was going to say is, what do you want to do with that thought?
What do I want to do? I don't know that there is anything to do with it, if I'm honest.
Well, I'll challenge you on
Yeah, of
that.
course you will. Of course you will.
Because if you don't want to do anything with it, then you're doing something. And what is it that you're doing then?
Oh, you tell me. Avoiding, probably.
It could be you're avoiding it, but it could also just be that you're sitting with it. And that might be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's true. And I think actually a lot of the time that's one of the most challenging things, isn't it? To sit with the uncomfortable feeling.
And this whole thing about no is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
That can be a really uncomfortable thing to sit with.
Yeah.
I've said no. I'm comfortable with the fact that, well, the reasons why I've said no, but it's really uncomfortable to sit with that.
Yeah.
So I understand why I've said no. I stand by it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I can hear that when you say it, it's justifiable.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you feel it was the right thing to do. But then the bit that comes after the no is equally as important. As I think that sometimes when we're talking about why do I find it so difficult to say no, it's not just the saying no that is the difficult bit.
Yeah.
It's the feelings that you have after you've said the no.
Mm.
And often what we don't do is think about, how am I going to feel about that? And how am I going to process that? Or how do I sit with that uncomfortable feeling that I have after I've said it, where I kind of replay the conversation in my head because I feel a bit bad about the fact that I've said no.
Yeah.
So I think that we kind of can build ourselves up to the bit saying the no and not then allow ourselves the space to kind of process that.
And that space is important, because there is, as with all things, a neuroscience element behind that, where the more your brain sees you and witnesses you doing something, the more evidence it has for doing that behavior. So saying no is okay. So a lot of the time, like at the start of this, I said about how we often keep doing it or don't do something because it's uncomfortable. So we don't do it. I put off saying no about a gift basket. You put that off because your brain doesn't like it, because it's different to your norm. So if anything is different to your norm, your brain doesn't like it, because that comes with fear and that challenges your brain's purpose. So actually, the more you can do something, the more that you can say no, even just on small occasions, the more evidence your brain gathers for, actually, it's okay when we do that. Nothing bad happens. And so the more you then feel comfortable with it. So when you say, it's been a long time that I've been doing this, and that you're more comfortable with it now, that, from a neuroscience perspective, is because your brain has gathered evidence that you can do it and it's all right, nothing bad will happen.
Yeah, I think that's really, really valid. So thinking about our listeners, what kinds of things might they be saying yes to when they really mean no, do you think?
Oh gosh, taking on more work, doing things that is outside of their role, outside of their hours. So if we're thinking from business perspective, Gosh, everything. It's your whole day to day, isn't it? Really, from the moment you wake up, there's possibility to do it, because I think we live in quite a demanding world, where people want things from you in perhaps timescales that don't work for you.
Yeah.
What about personally as well? What do you think?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I was thinking more from a business point of view, but personally, I think there's probably a lot of things like I'm going over to my sister's on Thursday night for dinner, and I've said to her, "Do you want me to make something?"
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm thinking, I really don't want to make anything because I'm busy all week.
Yeah.
And she said, "Yes, but only if you're sure." And in that moment, I could have said, "Actually, do you know what? I'm really busy this week. Is it all right if I buy something, or I'll
Yeah,
bring some
yeah.
wine instead?" But instead, I went, "Of course, I'm sure, it'll be fine." And I'm thinking, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that. I'm visiting a client on Wednesday all day. I'm not going to be home until 7 o'clock. So, so how do I fit that in? So
Yeah.
I think that those are the kinds of things that we agree to, but that's not such a big thing. I think that with coaching, what I see is if you imagine, if you took your list of things to do on a weekly basis, and I would say to you, look through that list of things to do, how many of those things belong to you?
Yeah.
And what I often get people telling me is there's loads of things on that list of things to do that don't belong to me.
And when you say belong to you, do you mean it's your responsibility, your accountability?
Both.
Yeah.
So it might be that you employ somebody whose job that is, but you're still on your list of things to do.
Yeah.
Or it might be that you don't really need to do it. It's not a priority, but you nonetheless put it on your list of things to do. It
And that takes up headspace, doesn't it?
does, because it sits on your list of things to
It's
do,
still there.
thinking that
Yeah.
I need to do this.
Yeah.
I've agreed to do this thing, but actually I don't want to.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back now and not let you off so lightly.
Yeah.
Why have you still stuck to making something on Thursday for dinner?
I'm probably not going to.
Okay.
I think when I said it, I probably will just go and buy something.
Yeah.
I'll go to M&S and buy something. Because I think sometimes what happens is you've got to weigh up in your head, how much does this matter if I say yes? I do sometimes think we have to say yes because you have to have that balance.
Yeah.
I don't believe that you can live a completely selfish life where it all becomes about what you want to do. I think there's
Yeah,
got to be some compromise.
absolutely.
So, for example, Thursday night, my sister's making dinner. She's making a 3-course meal. I've offered. The mistake was probably offering. So it's my fault because I've offered, and she said, "Yeah, all right." And I thought, "Oh shit, I shouldn't have offered."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what's made you stick to that?
Well, because now I'll buy something instead. So like she
Yeah.
wants a dessert, so it stops her from having to make something, right? So it's
Yeah.
one less thing for her to have to do. But I don't think she really cares if I go to M&S and buy
No.
something, or if
Yeah.
I make it home. No, I'm not being funny. I can make a fruit salad, but take me 2 seconds.
Yeah.
It's not really the point. I think that. So I think that that's one of the things as well of why I think people maybe say yes when they mean no, or why they find it difficult to say
Mm.
no, because you weigh up, does it really matter if I do this when it's not my job, or
Yeah.
what's the payoff? And I do think
Yeah.
you've got to get that balance right, because what I wouldn't want our listeners to think is that you just go away and go around and just say no and only do things you
Yeah.
want to do, because sometimes in life we've got to do things that we don't always
Yeah.
want to do, right?
And I think actually it's a really good point you've brought up there, is about actually the fact that you can change your mind.
Yes.
Because I think often we sit with, oh, well, I said I have to do that. And particularly if reliability is, or trust is important to you, you then sit there and think, well, I said I would do it, so now I need to do it. But actually, it's okay to change your mind. And that's something that I say to Ivy, my little girl, all the time. She's only just turned 3, but I will always say to her, you can change your mind, because at any point you can. And I think it's funny parenting when you're trying to do those kind of life lessons, because often when I'm teaching her, I'm teaching myself. I taught one of my friends says to her little girl, there's a little phrase she says all the time of, you can do hard things. So being a sheep, I've started saying that to Ivy too, because she can. And when I say it to her, I see her think, okay, I can do it. I'm thinking of her now on this little obstacle course in a park near me, and she'll do it when I say, you can do hard things. And I was doing something the other day and I said to myself, you can do hard things. And I said it to myself as a joke, but it worked.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I think it's quite funny when you're doing that, actually. The same with that, you can change your mind.
Yeah.
So it might be a tiny thing, but I think all of these these micro things like saying you'll make dessert when you can't or whatever it is, they're micro things, but when, as a woman who's doing like a busy role with a lot of life, you carry a lot, don't you? And all of
Yeah.
those micro things can really add up and weigh heavily on you.
So, I like to get practical.
Yes.
So I'm just thinking, before we kind of wrap up too much of this
Yeah.
episode, how does somebody actually say no in a way? And this is my thing that I always think about, keeping the relationship intact, because
Yeah.
if you're delivering a no to someone, but it's to somebody who matters to you,
Yeah.
you want that relationship to still be intact. So what tips could we give to somebody who wants to say no more
Yeah.
and feel comfortable with it?
So my main takeaway would be to do it. So just to practice. And I know that might sound, I'm not saying that flippantly, but thinking about the fact that to be able to get comfortable with something, your brain needs to see evidence of you doing it. Just those micro, tiny things, maybe even practicing with people where it doesn't matter so much. So, someone in a restaurant asks you something and you might just say yes because it's easier for them to then put it down because it's already on their tray. Actually just saying, no, thank you. I don't need that. Whatever it is, just tiny examples to your brain that it's okay to say no.
I like that.
What would be yours?
For me, it would be, I'd really encourage everybody, and I'm going to do this as well, to think about anything that you're doing at the moment that you don't feel completely comfortable with, like you don't really want to be doing it.
Okay.
You know those kinds of things. You know the kind of things where you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. Not the
Yeah.
same as going out for a run, by the way, because that's like, but the kinds of things when you think, oh, I wish I hadn't agreed to do that.
Yeah.
Why have I agreed to do that?
Yeah.
And really encourage you to think about what it was that made you say yes when you
Yeah.
really meant no,
Yeah.
and just do a bit of self-reflection.
Mm.
Because even if all you do is just notice some of the things, if all that this podcast episode does is just make you a bit more self-aware,
Yeah.
brilliant. So
Yeah,
just
yeah.
notice some of the things that maybe are weighing you down a bit, or you feel a bit grumpy about, and you don't really know why. And I've had that before, where I feel just a bit grumpy about doing something. I wonder why I'm feeling that way. Well, so I'd really encourage you to just go away, think about that, and then think, okay, so how could this have played out differently if I'd have said no?
Yeah.
And therefore, if that had played out differently, I would have felt differently. How might I say no next time?
So I'll say it out loud for this time is pretty simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's say no.
Say no, but in the right way.
Yeah.
And I think, thinking about your example, understand why you're saying no before you say no, because then that makes it more comfortable when you're sitting with it afterwards, that I feel really comfortable with why I've said no, even if it doesn't feel good to do that. Okay, so say no, understand why you've said no, and be prepared to sit with that uncomfortable feeling afterwards.
And keep doing it.
Keep doing it.
Okay. See you next time.
See you next time.
Okay, right. Outro. You've been listening to Between Us, brought to you by Jen and Alexis, founders of Her Tribe, a community for capable women who know the juggle is real and don't want to do it alone.
If something in this conversation's resonated, follow or subscribe so you don't miss the next one, or send it to a friend who might like to listen.
And if you've got a question you'd love us to explore, send it in to hello@hertribe.co.uk.
Until next time.
This was Between Us.